Hola Comadres, welcome to another episode of Comadreando Podcast. I'm your host Marcy, and today we have an amazing guest. Her name is Yovy, and I will let her introduce herself. Who are you?
Hello everyone. I am Yovy D, also known as Chombita Chronicles, the podcast que habla y amplifica the voices of people that we're not seeing, POC, black and brown stories, and I highlight the experience in being one or going through the narrative of those immigrant stories. May that be you first generation immigrant or naturally born, but you have the experience of being black, a person of color, or different culture and ethnicity. So that's what I do with Chombita Chronicles. Thank you, Marcy.
Amazing. Thank you so much for being on my show, guys. You don't understand all the stuff we went through to be able to record today. Not only it was a lot of technical issues, and it's not EFC the network if there's not some kind of technical issues. But that being said, we're gonna go into the topic today, which is marriage on the spectrum. And the reason why the topic came up is that we've talked about dating on the spectrum before. And of course, we're in the city, and there are noises, especially in Washington Heights where I live, because they are riding motores still and it's fall. Anyway, so the reason why the topic came up is because we've spoken about dating on the spectrum, but we haven't spoken to people that have dated other people on the spectrum and what their experiences have been. And Joey is special because she's actually married to someone who is autistic, so we're gonna get her perspective and in all senses of the word. Okay, so
yes,
before we get into the topic, what is your current relationship status?
Okay, my current relationship status is I am with my partner. We've been living together for almost more than a year already going. But we met right in the whole hype tensions of the pandemic. I've been single. Let me be first and foremost. Due to my career, I used to be a former TV broadcaster in media and television. And I've been single for a long time in a good way, to learn a lot about myself. And then I met my partner in the middle of the pandemic when everything shut down. And I was like, online dating. And one thing led to the other, I was like, okay, if the person is reliable and shows up, I show up. And he did. It was like, I'm going to call you at this time. And I was like, okay, he did call me at that time. I'm going to see you at this time and on this day. And I was like, okay, cool. And we took our time because it was in the middle of the shutdown. There was no vaccine ready. It was just like, okay, let's make sure that we're healthy. So we kind of were like FaceTiming for about a month and a half, almost 2 months before we met in person, being cautious in 2020. And we did that. And then I know that I noticed something different, but only to learn that I would say that people that are in the spectrum, I don't want to generalize, but I guess that depending how you were brought up and if you were bullied or talked down or different, I think he was kind of shy, and I would say even kind of have some kind of shame about his disability.
Okay.
And I was kind of like, there's something different. I could not pinpoint what it was, but I know that he was really a good person. And I was like, okay. And I allow myself also to be open-minded, to say, okay, what do I am looking for? Somebody to care about me, somebody to express their feelings and likes. And then we kept on just knowing each other. I learned more about it. And then he came up to me, and he doesn't define himself by that. It's actually, some people will say, it's a disability. It's not a disability. It's an ability, and it's a power that you have in order to endure. He has been on his own for many years as a human being as a good citizen, responsible, holding his work, and that's what matters at the end of the day. And I'm not gonna lie, there's no need, but when people like think about it, I'm not gonna be concerned. I was concerned, but at the same token, I say there's potential here. There's a superpower within himself for me, and I really was very upfront. I said, well, we're gonna make this work, and I'm gonna try to learn from you. But the only thing I ask for you is because I see that you have the potential, and I don't want to say the word. They say that we don't do it anymore, which is high functional. So just say somebody on the normal spectrum to just kind of elevate and challenge himself to be more present. And he has. He has definitely proved himself to be connected, to be present. We're still working on timelines and deadlines, because if anything you know about somebody in the spectrum, the way of thinking is very much they want to have a lot of things that are predictable. It's
very linear.
Yeah, very predictable, very futuristic in a sense. And then I had to kind of like gauge with him and say, okay, hold on a second. We're going to go and we know what's going to happen next week and maybe the following. But as a neurotypical person that I am, but even though I'm like, I can foresee certain things, but I'm like, I'm not going to go that further ahead. So, and then also, it was very interesting. He's now forward that we've been together for more than a year, he can adapt, and I'm not disrupting. It's spontaneity, like doing something spontaneous, something at the last minute or at the moment. He's opening and being flexible with his mind in that sense.
I love that.
Yes.
I really love that. That's great. But before you met him, what was the dating process like during the pandemic? Because I've had a couple of women on the show that they're in relationships or actually married or whatever, that they experienced dating during the pandemic, myself included. So what was that like before you met him?
Oh my God, it was disastrous. Marty, era desastroso. No. Es que it was like, I've been online dating for a while. I met my exes, I would say in the period, I guess. Online dating has been around for more than 20 years in the industry. And then you're like on and off. And then you do your other activities, because that's what you have to do. You got to complement it. You're like, okay, what I'm going to do, what I like. Okay, I like to go dance or listen to music. So I will do that. Do the activities that I enjoy and then complement it with online dating. But in the pandemic, some people were just, there's no other word en español, descarado. Eran unos descarados todos.
Shameless.
Yeah, it's like, I'm like, are you serious? They're like, no, yeah. And I was like, I was just not having it. First of all, I was already, I guess, jaded because of a disappointment that I had in one of my dates. And I was like, that's it. I am like, if you don't come out straight, do. And it's not like, oh, me. No. It's que ya, then I was like, I'm not putting up or settling with anything. Either you're going to take me out on a date, you're going to call me, you're going to show up, and that's it. I cut off everything else.
Yeah, and that's one of the best things about people on the spectrum is that they're so consistent. Especially if they say they're going to do something, they're going to do it. Unless something really comes up that is like out of their power, they're so consistent with everything. And what I like about them also is that they're very honest. Like, what they say is how it is. They're very rarely dishonest.
Right. Like, my partner, he has the sense of being very discreet. I already know that. Very discreet, and I'm not going to say, yes, true. They have the tendency to be honest, but he has developed the sense of when he knows that he cannot say certain things. So very reserved. It's not lying. It's very being considerate. And I'm like, and you have to respect that. He has his character. I know that when I ask him a question and he gives me this kind of face and I'm like, okay. I have to like, either change the way that I ask the question, and then he will like tell me, briefly. He has a really good protocol in how he conduct himself in that sense. And I'm like, I admire that for him. He knows his way. I live here in Los Angeles and he knows his way. Doesn't matter even in Los Angeles. He just have this sense really big about mapping and knowing places. He's like, tell me what street are you at right now? And if we were in New York, if we were in Miami, he's like, oh, there's this and this and this and this over here. It's like a little mental...
I feel like that's spatial memory, and that's good spatial memory. I think that's what it's called.
Yeah, let me take that back. He's a genius in mapping and being his own Google Maps in his mind. Very, very, very.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And
that's really cool.
We went to Philadelphia and he studied the whole public transportation system. And Marcy, we never got lost. He knew his way. He knew how to distinguish north, south, east, west. And I was like, yeah. I'm like, cool.
That's awesome. And then that's a thing too. That's something that we as women, we like also, that to feel safe. Not only like physical wise, but like to go out with somebody that knows what they're doing.
Yes.
I feel like that's important for us as women. Especially when we want to be like soft and we want to be vulnerable. We want to know that the person that we're with, they got it. Like, we don't have to worry about keeping us like safe or getting to where we gotta go, because the person that we're with can take care of it.
Yeah.
So I feel like that was appealing for you, right?
Yes, he was such appealing, and I'm like, he obviously happened to look even cute. I was like, you got this. And it was so awesome because, like you say, for us women, we have so many things going on. I'm like, the last thing I want to do personally is like, I don't have an issue planning, but he really takes the lead in that sense of, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to figure out where we at, how we're going to get there, and so on. And that's very, allows you to use your feminine energy and allows him to use his masculine energy. And it complements,
I love that.
The cycle, obviously, of the daily routine, it took me a while. I want to say also that I seek for therapy because it was a different phase of life for me, since I've never lived with someone at all. And then this was different. I had to mourn my singlehood, Marcy. It was a weird feeling.
Especially if you've been single for a long time. This was parte del proceso. That's part of the process. Sí. Like adapting yourself as an individual to being now a couple, but still trying to make time for your individuality at the same time.
Yes, había una nostalgia ahí, and I was like, "What is this?" And it's not that I didn't stop like talking to my friends, my circle of friends, and but it was a different transition. So I was like, I need to just get an adjustment and just kind of navigate this. This is new to me. And the sense of priorities, the sense of responsibilities, the sense of time management, how to move around, how to make sure that even though we are a couple, we also individuals first and foremost. And then that right now, he's actually out with one of his friends and he needs that. And I usually step out also with my friends. For me, that'd be a happy hour, a girls' night out. And it's like you need that balance and space.
Yes. Because the thing is that people sometimes, relationships tend to end up being toxic because people feel like they have to do every single thing with that person. And then the thing is, the adjustment process is like, for example, for me, like I remember in Sex and the City, Carrie, she said that one of the weird little rituals that she had when she was single was preparing crackers with peanut butter and jelly and eating it in her underwear in the kitchen, right? Which is something that somebody that doesn't live with you and they're living there, now they find that weird about you, right?
So it's kind of like that was, she will walk in and then she's like silence when she walks into her apartment.
Yeah. Like some people need that, like those 5 minutes of silence. But definitely I see where the adjustment processes of like getting used to having somebody in your space all the time, and then like I don't know if you guys live in an apartment or
we live in an apartment. We live in an apartment.
Exactly. So there's not a lot of space for you to go. Like you could go to the kitchen and he could be in the room or something. But okay, like you're still in each other's space. Yes. So, getting used to cohabitating together and then learning each other's
habits,
love languages, learning each other's habits, and getting used to just in general, life in general now as a couple. Comadres, the technical difficulties are continuing. As always, Mercury in reggaeton is Mercury. So, I was going to ask you, Yovy, so how did you know, once you started dating him, how did you know he was the one for you? Besides the consistency and the fact that he like took charge in at least the planning aspect, what other things did you notice about him that made you be like, maybe this guy is the guy that I want to end up living with?
Well, I think really he gave me peace. That was the key. Like, unfortunately we go through unfortunately in a good way, we go through mistakes and life experiences and dysfunctionality. I'm going to say it for what it is. And then sometimes we mislead ourselves thinking, oh my God, if I feel overwhelmed and he's there 24/7, like white on rice, this must be it. Y te sientes toda así, ofuscada. Yeah. And I was like, love, I don't think love is supposed to be that way. The infatuation, I'm like, no, this kind of like, and I was saying, to correct even my own toxic behaviors. And I was like, no, esto no va. Something is different. And I need to mention something else to you. I also, as an only child, only child, talking about having your space, that's where we left off. That was a big adjustment for me, having my own space. I don't share. It's really, because if you know anything about me, sometimes it's gonna be really odd that I will be having something, eating, and then everybody's like, Yovy, y entonces tú no invitas, tú no compartes, tú ni siquiera dices algo. Hey, I'm sorry. It's just, you literally have to bring it to my attention and like, oye, ¿será que me das un pedacito?
Oh my God. No, because you're not used to it.
I'm not used to it. And I'm like, then at that moment when you bring it up, then I'm like, okay, ¿quieres algo?
I'm gonna interrupt you, but you know what's odd? My brothers and I, we're not like that. Like if we're eating something and we don't, like, not that we don't share, like if they ask, but we rarely ask each other like, oh, dame un chin, whatever. But when we got with our family from Dominican Republic, tú eres come sola. That's all you do. You like to eat by yourself. You don't like to share. And I'm like, but it's my food. Like, I don't know what it is. But we're not like that type of family that's always like cogiendo un chin de la comida del otro. My brother es bien aquilloso, both of them. A ella no le gusta ni que le beban el jugo, nada. No le ponga la boca al cubierto, nada. Very territorial. Don't do that. So besides the fact that they're already germaphobes, we just didn't grow up like that, like digging in each other's food and stuff like that. But I can imagine.
So with that being said, it's just things like, and then the funny part is like, it's not that I don't mind sharing, it's just bring it to my attention, and then I'll let you know. And then, but I like sometimes going into somebody. I'm like, okay, especially to my partner, I'm like, okay, can I take this? And I'm just literally like serving myself. And he's like, sure, have some. But he has a brother. He has a brother. So I'm like,
maybe it's that.
He's the eldest. Yeah. He's the eldest and he has a younger brother. So he's kind of like, okay. So anyhow, yeah, remember that at the beginning when we were like, I'm like in a space, maybe I'm in the kitchen, and then I'm like, really, you gotta be in the kitchen too, and then I'm like, I'm in the bedroom, and then I see her, and then I'm like, I have to literally talk to myself. I was like, Yovy, there's somebody else here with you now.
It's a very big adjustment, even like.
It is.
Like even, okay, so my little weird quirks that I like because I'm single, I like to sometimes walk around just with like a t-shirt and my underwear in the house, right? I'm not used to having weird men in my house. Not weird, but like another person in my house. Sometimes I go to the bathroom y se me olvida cerrar la puerta. Not that I'm doing anything gross. It's just that like having that like, oh, no, tengo que cerrar la puerta. I have to do this. I have to make sure everything's adjusted just because I live with another person. So I completely get it. Like...
Yes, the sense of personal space and sharing space. Thank God we noticed that we needed. We have a comfortable apartment per se. We have a couple of rooms. So this is the office area, and then and then thank God I love him because he loves sports. And I kind of I think I had prayed for that. I was like, I want somebody like enjoys certain kind of hobbies, and one of was there. So he sits down. He loves his baseball, Dodgers, and he chills, and and I was like, cool. And then I have to watch my thing while I'm also like reading or browsing on social media, and we give ourselves that space. And but the main factor that I think I made the decision to say, you know what, why not? Let me try it. I think this is gonna work is because he gives me peace.
That's important.
I don't feel, because years ago I came out of a very hostile, some people call it now gaslighting, narcissist. Sure. I lost myself. I didn't know who I was. It was really hard. I went through really bad anxiety, depression. I almost lost my job because of that relationship. That's how intricate and complicated, because I also, like, looking back, I allowed that person to do those things. I mean,
you shouldn't blame yourself, because the thing is, narcissists, they know how to, and I have a whole episode about this, they know how to pinpoint and make you open up and be vulnerable to the point that they know what to use against you to keep you down here, right? So don't blame yourself. Don't blame yourself. But like, yeah, I'm glad that I'm glad that your partner now is like giving you peace. That's one of the biggest things. Like, I feel like at one point I kept being in relationships that I needed like that thrill, like to feel like, ay, it's ansiedad, like the anxiety,
the anxiety,
and then it's always something. The shoe's always dropping. The shoe is always falling down on the floor. Something's always happening. And then the thing is that love is not supposed to be like that. Love is supposed to be calm. You're supposed to it says I think this is like a Buddhist saying or something. When you meet your soulmate, everything is calm. There's no like
everything.
There's no like that. There's no that. Ay, Dios mío. Because like you become addicted to that. Yeah, you become addicted to that feeling.
Yes, no, and it is. Yeah, and it becomes a toxic trait that you're like, if there's no drama or some kind of impediment and struggle, I'm like, look at it. Doesn't have to be a struggle. And you don't have to convince somebody to like you or be with you either. And you gotta just kind of like, it's rough, yes. But then at the same time, like a friend told me, you have to love yourself a little bit more. Tienes que quererte un poquito más. And then be your own best friend and say, okay, wait a minute. What do I want out of this? And then by the time also you look at the big picture, you say, okay, if something happens to me, can I count on my partner that he gonna continue making sure that the light is on, the bills are paid, the food is home? And if you don't see those values and characters and morals within that person, then it's
What's
like
the point?
They're not checking the boxes.
So I know that people on the spectrum, they love to do like grand gestures, especially when they love you. They do things like very thoughtful, and it doesn't have to be like they spend a lot of money. But was there anything that was like a grand gesture that kind of like really like, I love this guy? Like,
well, I think it comes down to he's very, very in touch with his feelings, manifesting and saying how he feel. I guess, he was brought up in such a way of being in touch with his feelings. I was saying I love you, I care about you. Very verbalizing that is his love language. On the other corner, I was brought up, my family would not say I love you. It was like later on that my family kind of felt comfortable to say words about it, between being Latina and West Indian. The blend is there. And from a working class perspective, I don't take it in being, you warm up to it. I become very vocal. I have to feel very, very secure to be vulnerable and easy for me to say that I care about you, that I love you. My love language is definitely acts of service, but not gifts. Gift is
you don't
not.
really care
I think
for gifts.
For me, it's quality time. Like quality time, you are there next to me, listening to me, or just you can be quiet and just be just next to me. Quality of time is the biggest thing for me, because I have a relationship today with my dad, but however, when I was growing up, I did not. So I had a lot of issues of abandonment. Me crié con mi abuela. My mom was around, but my mom was one of those moms that had to come to this country and work. And then my dad was around. They were not together. And then I kind of had a full sense of who my dad was when I was like 7 years old. So then I realized that I was like, oof, I have abandonment. And then, you want to keep people close to you, and the transition of maybe having friends or family or going through phases. I will be one of those persons that will hold on very hard. And I had to learn how to let go of that.
That's important. I feel like I had a lot of abandonment issues too, and recognizing that is important, because you figure out also your attachment style, like if you have an anxious attachment style and things like that. So I feel like that's very important. So what other little quirks or qualities that you love about your partner?
Out of the blue, he always comes out with flowers.
I love that.
He will come out with flowers. Really, he will like, oh, really? He's like, no, it's been a while. I haven't brought you flowers. And I was like, that would be really nice.
That's so nice.
And then what really, really, the love language that I like about him is that we like boba. So we have the boba drinks. And he's very generous in that sense. Like, what I like about him is he's so thoughtful. And I'm like, that really is what wins me. And I'm like,
that's what I talked about. So I interviewed a woman that's on the spectrum. She actually got diagnosed later on in life. She's 40. She got diagnosed when she was like about 38 years old. And that's the thing. She said that they're very thoughtful, and when they love you, just like anything that they love, like let's say he loves baseball, like he probably knows, like, or he likes the maps, right? He knows everything. He knows like about the legends of the map, and he knows all the details, right? The same thing happens when they love somebody. When they love somebody, they learn all the things that you like, right? And then randomly, they'll just do like random things that show you that they care. But for you, is like a grand gesture. For them, it's just them showing you that they love you. But they're not taking it like it's a grand gesture, So I feel like I was telling the woman that that's their superpower. Like, they're really attentive to details, and a lot of people don't have that, especially when they're not fully invested. Like, it's so easy. We're living right now in a disposable culture. People feel that they can just get rid of whoever if they don't do the whatever it is, you know what I'm saying? So for to have somebody like focus on you and actually like pay attention to the details and the things that you enjoy and that you love, and to like, you know, take a minute to think like, oh, a Yovy le gusta eso, Yovy likes this, let me get it for her, you know, which is very nice. So I have a question for you. How has it been like dealing with neurotypical people when you share that your partner is on the spectrum? Like, what kind of reactions have you gotten?
Well, I think 50-50. I have a friend of mine that actually right now, one of her kids is on the spectrum. And as a mother, seeing my love story, it gives her hope. For the rest, I think because we're in 2022 when the official like diagnostic of autism was like already in the 80s. So these 80 babies are grown now. They're in their 40s, and we have said it many times, like we have heard it. People, love is love. Love is for anybody that, you know, it should be unconditional. Doesn't matter what you look like, or, you know, within all means, you know, if you're not hurting anybody. So I can perceive anybody else, because some people from like an old school mentality, they're not going to understand, and then you just leave it at that. He presents himself for who he is, and if he wants to tell people, that's his choice, that's his story, and I respect that. You know, that's how he wants to go about it.
This is what I've been like advocating on the show, is that autism is just like one piece. It's not their whole identity. They are a person first, and then they have autism, you know. It's not that like, I mean, and it all depends on how the person identifies too. It's the same thing as sexuality, right?
Yeah, exactly.
There's people that say I'm autistic, or I have autism. You know, it all depends on the person's comfortability with it. But I love the fact that you respect him for his choices, whether he shares or not. And then, you know, like whoever has something negative to say, they need to go read a book, and they need to educate themselves.
Like, it's not my job.
It's not your job.
Yeah, and it's not my job. And I'm not going to be carrying also like a bulletin board, you know, right? I was like, no, you got to get to know who he is, and then everything else. And it's not.
Sorry. Yeah. Continue.
No. It's not my. As I said, at the end of the day, it's his story, how he identified. Like the same way I do in my podcast is like, and he had learned a lot about Afro-Latinidad, and I always tell him too. I'm like, you have to let the other person identify themselves. Doesn't matter what they look like. They can be dark
and
as
they
night.
Don't feel that they're black.
Do not tell them that they're Afro-Latino. You ask them first.
It's so true. It's because everybody goes on their own journey. And con eso también, like with Afro-Latinidad, like when I was a kid, we were always told, you're Dominican, you're not black, right? Because like what they would look at the you know, the culture here, African American culture here, right? And then look at us, and they're like, no, that you're not that's not what you are, and look at your skin and whatever. But we're Afro-Latinos, like we have African ancestry, and actually our culture is a little bit more close to African culture than other people in the world. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you know, when I was a kid and I was in high school, if you would have told me that I was black, I would have been like, what do you mean?
You're insulting me.
I would have been like, what do you mean? Like, what do you really mean about that? Like, I was like, I'd be like, I have African ancestry, but I'm also European or whatever. Mind you, our culture is like, besides the Spanish, muy poca cosa. Like, very little things that are like really, really, you know, European. And these ears and this nose and these features, this is not European at all. But we digress. But yes, it's good that, and I love that. Like, I love the fact that you guys communicate so openly, and I feel like when you guys do have issues, I feel like because of the way that he was socialized by his family, and the way you guys are, you have open communication, correct?
Yes, I'm like, it's still a learning process. There's days that I'm not. You, as a couple, like any other couple, you have good days and you have other days. He's very sensitive or sensory to the day, the season. If the day is very cloudy and rainy, oh, that's gonna be a sensory kind of day for him. And
so how do you help him?
And then I have to understand. I try to cheer him up, but also I let him also kind of like just have his moment, soak in the day, take it for what it is. I always try to like, because tampoco no estoy aquí para corregirlo. Digo, that's how he feels and his feelings are valid. So then I make sure that I center my mind and what I need to do, and then respect how he feels. I always give him a sense of understanding and say, well, yes, I understand that, you know, that the day may not be looking the greatest, but also remember that you still was able to get up today, get dressed, have a day, and, you know, feel grateful. And then somewhere I kind of intricate those little deposits in his mind, and
it helps him.
But it helps. And sometimes like you say, sometimes you just have to allow the person to be that person. How he feels.
Sometimes my son wakes up and he wants to have a sad day, and that's just his mood for the day. Or he's grumpy. And he wakes up and that's the mood for the day. Yeah. I mean, I try to help him as much as I can to center and remember and all these things. But there's moments that, you know, you get to a point that, like, me, myself, as a neurotypical, you know, people are going to talk to me, and if I'm in a certain mood, no importa lo que me digan, me pueden decir misa. I'm not gonna change whatever's going through. I have to cycle through whatever, you know, feeling cycle that I'm having at that moment, that day. So what are some non-negotiable terms for you and your partner? Like things that you guys are not budging on, but you guys are like accommodating each other around.
We definitely, what we share the most is music. Like, it's really, you know, he has a really incredible taste, eclectic taste for music, and surprised me because, you know, he was brought up here in the United States, but he's ample knowledge about music, and we share that. We share he's willing to listen to Caribbean, Latin music, and he makes points, reggaeton, you name it. He really like accept that. And what is it? So, you know, we try to, I don't have, the only thing that I have per se is always like, for me, I'm not a neat freak, but I like...
You like organization.
I definitely try to get with him. Coordination, but I like I told him, I say, an organized space is an organized mind. And it gives you, and then you allow the energy to flow. And I'm really, really like, because it's like, if we have a little puddle here and a little batch of things here, and then everything's acumula, and they, you know how, and somebody in the spectrum, they can be very obsessed with collecting things. He collects pins, he collects this, and then I was like, he has a library of CDs, and then I'm like, okay, let's tone it down a little bit.
Yeah, I went through that with my son at the beginning. He loved DVDs of different cartoons that he loved. Mind you, he could watch all the cartoons on YouTube, pero que él quería esos DVDs. Entonces, it got to a point that I was like, no more. No se puede más, because he had a collection of over 50 already. I'm like, what are we going to do with all these DVDs? Right. We live in one apartment. You know, so, you know, I can see that. And then actually my mom's friend was married with somebody that was on the spectrum. Yes, undiagnosed, but his obsession was like kind of Comic-Con kind of stuff. So they eventually moved to a house, and he had a whole room that was his den full of like collectible items from like different comics and Batman y toda la cosa que le gustaba a él. But it was like a rule. It was confined to the room, and whatever went outside the room, they made a rule that she would have to throw it away. So he made sure to keep everything in the space that they had allowed for that, which was very interesting.
Yeah, no, and then, you know, also the sense of, because the thing is that somebody on the person wants certainty, and that means maybe I want to use the same T-shirt, certain attire made that go to sleep or to wear, or because it also helps them structure their day and how they maximize their time. So, and that's cool. However, you're like, okay, this day you're gonna change that, and I know that you like it, but then we're gonna either, it gets washed and everything, but it's like, okay, we gotta change it around because you have several other T-shirts or several other shorts, and everyone, and every type of clothes that you may wear serves for different occasion, and that's fine. But it's like, okay, we're gonna switch it up, and then you become more flexible and understanding about these things.
I had a student that he only liked to wear a certain color all the time. So my job in the class, I wanted to help him explore different colors. So we would play around with color all the time. And then one day he wore a different color, and I was like, ah. But then he went back to the same color that he loved. But it's okay. But the thing is, like, little things like that, you, like, as a neurotypical, you don't see it you don't see, like, the importance of that. But for them, it helps them center themselves and kind of, like you said, gives them that structure and that expectation that's already there.
Yeah. Because what I like about him is because of that structure. Then it's not that I didn't used to live in a structure, but then the lifestyle, he kind of keeps me, like, more in a time sense. Like, okay, he's kind of person, like, we're gonna have breakfast, we're gonna have lunch.
It gives you structure and stability.
And I was like, yeah. And I really, really enjoy that and maximize my day. But before, it's not that I will have breakfast, but then I will have lunch, or I will go more with the flow. But then that stabilizes a lot of my way of thinking and proceeding in doing things. Yes, and I like that. I'm like, no, I really do. This is good.
And then the question that I'm sure people ask you all the time: do you guys plan on having a family eventually?
Well, actually, since we met at a different path of life, we decided we obviously, becoming a parent nowadays, thank God to many advanced sciences, you can become a parent in many different ways. That's a choice. And but we decided that I think we are not going that route. It's just going to be just us, and we like it that way. We like to sleep.
That's the biggest thing. People I was like, I used to be like, porque me ponían presión when I was like 25. They're like, oh, you should have a baby because I was married. You should have a baby, blah, blah, blah.
Of course.
Pero no te dicen que you're gonna lose sleep. Y a mí que me gustaba dormir tanto, muchacha. I had to get used to not sleeping at all. And then let me tell you, my mental health, like, what is it, like in economic, I took economics. I was a business major in school. Like so, like, it does a direct relationship between the amount of sleep and my mental health. So if I'm not getting a lot of sleep, my mental health is in decline as well. So
yes.
I need a certain amount of sleep to be able to function. But yeah, if somebody would have told me that, would have been like, no, thank you.
But that's the thing. That's why they don't tell you about motherhood. But
you sacrifice a lot.
We are, we're in a part in adulting that we're like, he had a pet. I used to have my pets. Thank God I was raised with pets when I was a kid, when I was going to school. Thank you for that. And if anything, I'm a mom plant, but I have a cactus. So, you know how that goes. I pour water, but at least I'm taking care of something. But our lifestyle is as best. We like it that way. And we are, that's pretty much, he's a mom. He's a dad plant and I'm a mom plant. And that's how much we're going to do that. But we like it like it is.
I love that.
I have goddaughters and stuff like that. Soy madrina.
And I'm sure you have nieces también, right? You're an only child, right?
I'm an only child, but I have other cousins. I have cousins. I have
prima hermanas like me, right? A lot. We have I have over 50.
I hang out with a lot of my little cousins. So, and then he has also family. But yeah, no, we like our sleep. We decided for that one, and also I want to add that it's like I take off my hat for parents like you, for any parents. Is like, because I had one of my goddaughters, but I have such an admiration for parents, period. You know, raising another citizen, a human being. I have friends that are moms. And the other thing is, it's because, you know, I also am currently my mom's caregiver and my grandmother's caregiver. And that sense of responsibility, some people say, okay, it's the full circle of life. It is what it is. I have come to that decision that I'm like, my tab on responsibility, I think, is pretty much
is fulfilled.
And that's
honest. And that's honest, and that's okay. And you know your limits, you know? So,
yes.
Comadres, we're going to leave the conversation there. It was lovely. Thank you, Yovy, for being on my show. And for giving us your perspective. And, you know, like you said, you're giving hope to other parents of children on the spectrum that, you know, they can be in a loving relationship with somebody that understands them.
Yes.
And then,
yes.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I say that, you know, be protective. You definitely do, because you have to, you know, be able to find that person or have that person as a mom. You have to be a watchful eye of who comes across and your feelings. I definitely can honor that. But yeah, there is hope. There's love, you know. And
then with that, comadres, we're gonna end the show. As I always do, follow me at Comadreando Pod on Instagram, and you can follow Yovy at. Can you drop your handle?
Chombita Chronicles is Chombita _Chronicles. You can find me also at Yovy D. That is at YOVY _D.
Okay.
And on Instagram.
And if you have any questions whatsoever for me or for Yovy, make sure that you send us a Comadre-Gram at my email at Marcy at Comadreandopod.com, or slide up into my DMs. Don't forget to go on the website to get your Comadreando merch. And the website is www.comadreandopod.com. And thank you for spending time with your comadres.
Hello, comadre.
Hey, comadre.
Do you have a minute for comadre time?